Bareback riding is one of the most physically challenging events in rodeo. This is Bareback Riding 101. The rules are simple. The cowboy must ride the horse for 8 seconds while only holding on with one hand. One hand of the cowboy will be wedged into a suitcase-like handle called a riggin. The free arm of the cowboy cannot touch himself or the horse at any point of the 8 seconds, or the result is a no score. The first jump out of the chute is called a markout. The cowboy spurs have to be above the point of the horse's shoulders. Failing to do this will result in a no score. The cowboy spurs should touch the horse on every jump of the 8-second ride. As the horse bucks, the rider will pull his knees up to the riggin. When the horse descends, the rider will extend his legs to the point of the horse's shoulders, preparing for the next jump. The cowboys are judged on their spurring technique and body control, while the horses are judged on their power, agility, and difficulty. Half the score comes from the cowboy, half the score comes from the animal. They are added together, and that is the recorded score. The highest score available, 100 points. It's time to meet the big boys of professional rodeo. The event is steer wrestling, and this is Steer Wrestling 101. The rules are as follows. The steer always gets a head start. The fastest time wins. The hazer is the MVP, and a broken barrier is a 10-second penalty. The hazer is on the right side of the steer, while the steer wrestler sets up on the left. The hazer's job is to keep the steer in perfect position for the wrestler, who needs to get a great start, not break the barrier. Ride hard to the steer, jump, wrestle, and get the clock stopped. The time will stop when the steer lays flat on the dirt and all 4 feet are pointing the same direction. Now let's talk about a broken barrier. It's actually held together by a string. If the steer wrestler hits the barrier before it's released by the steer, the string will break, and the result is a 10-second penalty. A good steer wrestling run is as easy as 1, 2, 3, and that's how you get it done in the steer wrestling. The only true team event in rodeo is team roping. Teamwork makes the dream work. This is Team Roping 101. Here you have a header and a heeler. The fastest time wins, and the steer gets a head start. One cowboy, the header, ropes the horns. The other cowboy, the heeler, has one job. That's to rope both hind feet of the animal. There are some problems that could lead to penalties. Penalties are additional seconds added to the run if the rules are not followed. It starts with the barrier. If the header leaves before the steer gets a head start and breaks the barrier, that's a 10-second penalty. A mistake of only inches will cost you 10 seconds, and that will cost the team money. The heeler can also get in hot water if he only ropes one hind leg instead of 2. That's a 5-second penalty that could also take you out of the money. Once the header and heeler have done their jobs, the horses face each other and the ropes are tight. That's when the clock stops. More variables than any other event. 5 minds working together with one goal. Be fast, because fast equals money. Don't blink or you just might miss it. That was Team Roping 101. Saddle bronc riding requires strength, grace, and precise timing. This is Saddle bronc riding 101. Every move the bronc rider makes must be in sync with the movement of the horse. Form and technique are critical to earn a good score. The rider must have both spurs above the horse's shoulders for the first jump out of the chute. It's called a markout. If the rider misses his mark and his feet drop, he receives a no score. Holding onto the rein connected to the halter of the horse with only one hand, the rider will be disqualified if he touches any part of the horse or his body with his free hand. Judges score the horse's bucking action and the cowboy's control of the horse along with his spurring technique. The cowboy will try to keep his toes turned outward while moving his spurs from the points of the horse's shoulders back to the saddle. A smooth, rhythmic ride is sure to impress the judges. When done right, it's poetry in motion. And that is Saddle bronc riding 101. Tie-down roping is an event born straight off the range. This is Tie-down roping 101. The fastest time wins, but it's actually a little more complicated than that. There are some things that can go wrong. It starts with a head start for the animal. Once the calf gets to the scoreline, the barrier releases. If the cowboy leaves too early, he breaks the barrier, resulting in a 10-second penalty, and that can be too much to overcome. On the ground, all the cowboy has to do is tie any 3 legs. He does this with a second, much shorter rope called the piggin string. Once he throws up his hands, that's when the clock stops, and the animal must stay tied for 6 seconds. Once the cowboy is remounted and puts slack in the rope. Tie-down roping is the event that requires horsemanship, rope handling ability, and athleticism. And that is tie-down roping 101. Breakaway roping is the fastest event in rodeo. Sub 3-second runs are to be expected, and these cowgirls are handy with a rope and a horse. This is breakaway roping 101. There are just a few simple rules. Just like every event in rodeo, the advantage always goes to the animal, in this case, the calf. You must give the animal a designated head start. If the cowgirl leaves the box too soon, she will break the barrier, resulting in a 10-second penalty. And in this case, with the prowess and the ability of these ladies, you cannot make mistakes if you want to win. The cowgirl leaves the box in pursuit of the calf. She throws her rope clean around the neck, slides her horse to a stop, and the rope will break away from the saddle horn, and that is when time will stop. If the rope goes around any other part of the calf but the neck, it results in a no time. If you want to win this event, you have to be able to ride, rope, and do both with the gas pedal down, throwing no caution to the wind, and swinging for the fences every time. Breakaway roping is the business of these cowgirls, and believe me when I tell you, business is good. If you have a need for speed, barrel racing is your event. This is Barrel Racing 101. Now here are the rules. The fastest time wins. The horse will run a cloverleaf pattern around 3 barrels, and the key is to leave all 3 barrels standing while going as fast as you and your horse can. Because if you knock down one of the barrels, it's a 5-second penalty. The barrel racer has the option of going to the left or the right from the start. The bottom line, leave all 3 barrels standing as you complete the cloverleaf pattern. The model for success in barrel racing is to go as fast as your horse can go. Straight lines from each barrel are key, and whatever you do, don't lose momentum in the turns and don't knock over a barrel. Barrel racing is beautiful, fast, furious, and a true display of great horses and great cowgirls. And that is Barrel Racing 101. There is no doubt that bull riding is the most dangerous 8 seconds in sports. This is Bull Riding 101. There's 100 points possible. Half the score comes from how well the cowboy rides. The other half comes from the bull's performance once the gate swings open. If you are totally in control, the more you spur, the more you score. The one thing you cannot do is touch the bull with your free hand. If that happens, the clock stops and you get a no score. The bullfighters are the best in the world, and they are there to provide a helping hand if a cowboy finds themselves in trouble. If this looks dangerous, well, that's because it is. That was Bull Riding 101.